first and foremost, congratulations back to the state tournament. I won't ask you to rank this one because it's like talking about your kids and trying to, tell you which one's your favorite. What I will do though is what makes this group so special?
It comes down to one word: resilient. And these kids have been resilient all year with setbacks that they've had from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year to injuries towards the end. These kids have fought through it. They've never made an excuse or said, why me? Ugh, there goes our season. Anything like that. All they said is, you know what, next man up. Let's get through this. And the bottom line is, when these injuries did occur, other people played major minutes. And those major minutes are now helping us out tremendously when our team is fully healthy. Where does this rank as far as the other 7 region championships? It's right up there because nobody expected this. And because of that and the kids playing that underdog card, this is near the top.
Can you kind of play that Wednesday? I mean, you can kind of, hey, you know what, we're just down here, we're just having fun, but why not us? Because you look at it from the standpoint of who you face to get here. It's going to be as hard, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to be any more difficult than what you guys have traveled through.
No, and it's a tough state tournament. Every team there deserves it. But you just said a word: why not us? That's exactly what we said to the team afterwards, and they started to buy in right away. You're right. Why not us? We just knocked off 2 top 10 teams on our way into the state tournament. We can continue to do this moving forward.
When you have a chance to kind of, and I don't even know if you have had a chance to digest it. I can't even. I know what it's like to get there, and it's amazing. When you are kind of the underdog, it has to make it feel a little bit more special, especially the backstory of how you guys got here.
Yeah, no, I think it is a special story, but it makes you want to cross the T's, dot the I's even more. We have been prepared. Our senior leaders have been so focused, and you just want to continue this moment that we've had for the past week and carry it forward. So everybody's doing their due diligence. Everybody's doing their homework. We're just trying to get up to that, get ready for that Wednesday noon game.
Final one for you. I know as a coach, I know you go through the process before the start of every season, and you look at it, and you kind of say, we can do this. I mean, would it shock me if we were able to get downtown and be in the final 8? And your answer is probably always going to be, no, I think if things go right, I think that we definitely have a shot. And some groups are easier than others because you see it and you're like, nope, we got a pretty doggone good team. So now you get there and you look back and you're like, okay, so we got to where we thought we could, but that whole trip along the way took so many different turns. Does that kind of make it a little bit more special?
It does. It wasn't your traditional straight path to the state tournament. It was a roller coaster of a year. So many ups, couple downs, but that I think makes it more enjoyable. Our kids understand a little bit about the importance of the little things, and they apply that to games now. They embrace each other, they enjoy each other, because they all know the struggles that we went through early in the season, and I think that's paying dividends right now.
Third straight trip to state, never gets old. What's different about this? I would assume like pressure's maybe a little bit different, and it's so you have what you have last year, and you kind of know that we're going to get there. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the year, did you kind of see this run coming?
I always believe in our guys that we're capable of doing things if we put the work into it. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that we would be playing in the state tournament, might have looked at you a little bit goofy. But after being around these guys and watching the effort that they put in practice, effort that they put in this summer in workouts, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
Well, they had a good year last year too. I mean, from a JV perspective, very solid. I mean, they're 24-2. So you have that, and then you see what the group in front of you does. It's got to be a huge thing to be able to build on too.
Oh, it's outstanding. And I think I've said this a few times already to some other people, but these guys competed against a really good basketball team last year every day in practice, every single day, and it was a war. They learned from them. They got beat up by them, and it only made them better. And then obviously The record that they had as a JV team is impressive. And they translated that into the varsity game. And, that's not always easy to do, but they were able to do it. It just goes to I think it goes to their work ethic and their ability to buy into the program and kind of feed off of future teams, previous teams, and grow as their own.
What makes this group special? What makes it really good?
I think they're extremely unselfish. I think that's the key to us. We don't have, you don't have the guy that everybody's writing stories about. You just have a group of guys who I think they genuinely like each other. I think they want to see each other do well. We don't see anybody trying to take over bad shots or force things. They're just unselfish, and they play together and they want to see each other succeed. And I know that's the reason that we've had success this year.
What does Lakeville North bring to the table? Obviously, they've got some size, they got some height, they got some big kids that are going to bang around in there. What is it going to? I mean, when you look at kind of a couple keys to Wednesday afternoon, what does that look like?
Well, first, they're extremely well coached. And when I think of Lakeville North, I think of the word solid. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They do their job. Every guy does their job every time down the floor, or for the most part. And adding that to big, strong, physical kids, it's a recipe for a good team. So for us, it's going to be: are we able to keep them off the glass? Are we able to keep them out of the lane? And then offensively, being able to handle pressure and get lane touches ourselves, finishing at the rim instead of away from it. Those are the keys, I think, for our game, and just having confidence and being able to score under pressure and being able to stop them from touching the lane is going to be the key, I think.
Final one for you. As a coach, having gone through this process the last 2 years, what have you learned? What have you taken away from the first 2 trips that you've made that maybe you look at this trip and are like, okay, so we're going to do this different, or we're going to do that different? Or is there something, or is it just kind of you just do what you do?
I think generally it's do what you do, but at the same time, what I've learned is that little tweaks in your program, or not in your program, but in your game and your team's game, heading into the state tournament, I think they're good. Kind of refreshes the kids, like, hey, we got something new. We're doing this. We kind of like this. They kind of get revived. Maybe is a word to use. That they have something else in their backpack. But for the most part, it comes down to stepping on the court and competing. Because at this point in the year, Hayes and Barn, Horns and Silo, whatever you want to say, but it comes down to guys competing and winning battles, and 50-50 balls, and diving on the floor, and making jump shots and taking charges. That's what's going to come out.
First time in school history. Clock winds down. I have about 1 billion questions I want to ask, and I know I can't ask you 1 billion questions, which is a ridiculous number. But
because I only got one answer.
I know. There's that. You've obviously had teams in the past that have played for a section championship. When you have a 6-point lead and the clock's winding down, what's going through your mind when you finally kind of realize that, and you exhale and you're like, we just did something that no boys team in this school's history has done?
I grew up with Bud Grant, and so I like to think of myself as not getting too high or too low. Well, I've got half of that equation done. I get low, but I never get too high. So when the clock is winding down, I'm looking at my guys celebrate out there, and I'm saying, this is cool. I mean, I'm happy for them. On the other hand, my wife came up to me, our principal, Tanya Scott, came up to me and gave me hugs after the game. Something about the look in their face of whether it was appreciation, celebration, something made me just crumble. And I did have 14 years of emotions come back on me, and know that these guys are going to have a lifelong memory. And I crumbled. I'm not afraid to admit it.
It's an unbelievable feeling, and I think as you've built this program up, you've had teams that have probably been more talented, definitely have been more talented, and that if you would have said this was the group that was going to get it there, why is that? What makes this team and this group so special?
Well, first of all, we never complained when we had Minneapolis North in our section, when we had Maranatha Christian in our section, and they always had really good teams. We never complained. I'm not going to complain this year. I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to apologize for finally being our turn. We play who's in front of us. We beat everybody who is in front of us, and so we celebrate, and I think we deserve this trip to the state tournament, and we're going to make the most of it.
What is so? That's the biggest thing from a inside perspective, looking at it. What are some of the things that along the way? Because I know early on in the season, you had to work to get to this particular point. I mean, as a coach, you probably always like, well, if we have these things go right, I think we could be pretty good. And then you get there and you're looking back and you're like, well, that wasn't the path that I anticipated going on. What kind of along the way, at what point did you reach where you're like, we got a shot?
And it was a challenge from the start of the year, because last year our seniors who graduated contributed 65 points a game. That's a lot to replace.
Yeah.
And so we came back this year with a lot of kids who are very inexperienced. We have 11 seniors, so they're not immature, but they just haven't played much basketball. So it took a long time and a lot of frustration and a lot of playing really bad basketball to make everybody understand that we have to be intentional, we have to be focused, we have to treat every possession like it's the last one. Shot selection became really important to us, because there was a 2-game stretch in January where we, in 2 straight games, we shot 6 for 54 on threes. 6 for 54. Horrible percentage, and the fact that we kept taking them was the thing that we had to work on. So shot selection, and as we got more disciplined at the last month of the year and started having some success doing that, the kids got it. They started to understand, yeah, we can do this. We're much better than what our record is. And all year long we played 2A and 3A teams, and we kept saying, these guys are not in our section. We still have a shot. And so as we kept improving in February, kids started to believe in themselves, and now they do.
Final one for you. You cut the nets down and win the section. When as a coach, that's a special thing, to be able to finally get that and get over that hump. Was it everything that you dreamt it would be? Because I know how you work. I know you're a dreamer just like I am, and we're both dream that we see it and we can get, hey, it's right there, we can go get it. Was it as good as you thought it was going to be?
Yes, in a much more lasting way, because again, I don't get too high with my emotions, and so I wasn't the celebrating type right afterwards. I was grateful, I was appreciative, and then as each day has gone by, the gratefulness lingers, and I start thinking about all those other years where I was on the outside looking in at this time of the year, wondering, okay, we could have made it, we should have made it, and we didn't, and so I wonder what that feels like. Now, we're one of the few teams, these guys are some of the few guys who are still playing this week, and that makes me deeply grateful and appreciative.
Final one, part 2. Girls make it last year for the first time.
Last week.
Last week. You guys make it this year for the first time. Is there a correlation? I mean, do you guys kind of play off each other? Do you see what the girls are doing, and is it kind of, because sometimes winning is contagious, and all it takes is that one domino to fall, and then everything else kind of falls into place.
All these years, we've gotten close. The girls' team's gotten close, the guys' team's gotten close, and we never got there. We never achieved. We never performed well enough to get there. And that last week, with our girls winning sections, was a real motivating factor for our guys. I could feel it. Practices all of a sudden looked different. All of a sudden they started believing in themselves. So absolutely we fed off the motivation provided by the girls' success, because finally we understood, hey, we can. It's not we can't. Right. We can.
Congratulations. Good luck Thursday.
Thanks, man.
It takes a lot to bring down a Minnesota Vikings player, but when an injury occurs, a Twin Cities orthopedics physician is on the field and ready to assess the situation. TCO is the official sports medicine provider of the Minnesota Vikings and proud to be a part of the new home of the Minnesota Vikings in Eagan. Best yet, the community can see the same great doctors at one of our 40 clinic locations across the metro. Visit TCOMN.com to learn more. TCOMN.com.